There is a specific kind of person who, upon hearing the first sound of rain against a window, feels something unlock inside their chest. Not relief exactly, not joy, something quieter than both, a permission. While the world outside turns gray and retreats, this person does not mourn the lost day. They were already waiting for it. They pulled the curtains to a specific angle. They arranged the space around themselves the way a bird arranges a net, not for beauty, but for something more primal than beauty, for safety. The question is not why some people enjoy rainy days. The real question is what it means, psychologically, philosophically, perhaps even neurologically, that an entire category of human being finds their most authentic self not in sunlight and crowds and movement, but in stillness, in enclosure, in the precise conditions that most productivity culture would classify as ideal circumstances for depression. What do they know that the rest of the world does not? Carl Jung wrote that the most important work a human being can do happens not in the outer world, but in what he called the inner world, the vast, unmapped territory of the self that most people spend their entire lives running from, running toward noise, toward crowds, toward the next obligation, the next screen, the next thing that guarantees they will never have to sit alone with whatever is living quietly inside. But some people do not run, and rainy days are when they stop pretending to. There is a concept in environmental psychology called restorative environments, spaces and conditions that allow the prefrontal cortex to rest, to stop performing, to stop managing. The brain, under normal social conditions, is in a constant state of low-level threat monitoring. It is scanning for judgment, for conflict, for the possibility of failure in the eyes of others. Rain, and the enclosed domestic space it creates permission for, removes that threat almost entirely.
The world is not watching anymore. The world is busy being rained on. And so the person who finds comfort in these conditions is not avoiding life. They are returning to the only version of themselves that does not require a performance. There is a German word that does not translate cleanly into English, Geborgenheit. It means a state of being sheltered, protected, held, not just physically, but existentially. The feeling that the world, for this moment, cannot reach you with its demands. Rain creates Geborgenheit architecturally. It builds walls of sound around a small interior space and makes the person inside feel, perhaps for the first time that week, that they are enough, that being still is enough. There is a misunderstanding that has followed introverted people for most of modern history. It is the assumption that introversion is shyness, that the preference for solitude is a fear of people, that the person who cancels plans when rain begins to fall is somehow less alive than the one who grabs their keys and rushes out into it. This is incorrect, and the distinction matters. The psychologist Hans Eysenck proposed that introverts and extroverts differ not in personality preference, but in neurological baseline arousal. The introvert's nervous system is already running at a higher resting state. It does not need stimulation from outside. It generates its own. What it needs, what it genuinely requires for basic function, is regular periods of low external input, quiet, containment, space where the internal signal can be heard over the external noise.
Rainy days are one of the few culturally acceptable excuses modern society gives a person to stop, and that is a quiet tragedy hiding inside the comfort, that we require permission from the weather to rest. Think about what it means that a person must wait for rain before they allow themselves to cancel, to withdraw, to sit with a book in a quiet room without guilt, that the gray sky must first validate what the body and mind have been requesting for weeks. The philosopher Albert Camus wrote that the only serious question is whether life is worth living. But perhaps before that question can even be approached honestly, a more immediate one must be answered. Have you ever given yourself enough silence to hear what you actually think? For many people, the answer is no, and rainy days are when the question becomes impossible to avoid. Not all humans want to feel happy all the time, and those who find comfort in rainy, quiet, isolated spaces often have an unconscious relationship with what the Portuguese call saudade, a melancholy longing that is not depression, not grief, but something more like emotional richness, the capacity to feel the full weight of existence and find that weight meaningful rather than unbearable. The Japanese aesthetic philosophy of wabi-sabi, the beauty of impermanence, incompleteness, and quiet decay, speaks directly to what these people feel in small, enclosed, rainy spaces. A cracked ceramic cup is more beautiful than a perfect one because it carries time inside it. A rainy afternoon is more beautiful than a perfect sunny day because it carries the truth of things, that the world is temporary, that moments pass, that sitting still while rain falls is itself an act of extraordinary presence that most people never allow themselves. There is neurological evidence for this. Psychologist Ad Vingerholtz has studied what he calls the crying brain, the conditions under which humans voluntarily seek melancholic stimuli, sad films, minor key music, empty Sunday afternoons. His research suggests that these states are not masochistic, they are regulatory. Mild melancholy activates the default mode network, the brain's introspective system, the part responsible for self-referential thought, for narrative coherence, for the making of meaning. In other words, when you sit alone while it rains and feel something quiet and undefined and beautiful, your brain is doing some of its most important work. It is writing the story of who you are. This is why the people who are drawn to these conditions are often paradoxically some of the most internally rich individuals in any room. They have developed a relationship with their own inner life that most people have never been still long enough to begin. Gaston Bachelard, the French philosopher whose masterwork The Poetics of Space remains one of the most important books ever written about interior life, argued that small, enclosed spaces do something extraordinary to human consciousness. They concentrate it. He wrote that the house is not simply a building, it is a psychological organ, a structure that the person who inhabits it fills with their own inner world until the two become indistinguishable. The corner where you always read, the specific angle of the lamp you adjust without thinking, the cup placed just here, not there. These are not decorative choices, they are acts of self-definition. And when rain falls, this process intensifies. Because the outside world, with its infinite demands, its social contracts, its relentless implication that productivity is the measure of a life, goes temporarily silent.
What remains is only this: the sound of rain, the warmth of the lamp, the weight of your own thoughts, and the rare, almost forbidden sense that this, exactly this, is enough. There is a line from the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius that most people read as being about discipline, but on a rainy afternoon, in a small room, it reads differently. Confine yourself to the present, not as an instruction, as a release. The person who feels most alive in a quiet room while rain falls has perhaps already intuited what the emperor spent a lifetime trying to articulate: that the present moment, fully inhabited, is not an escape from life. It is the most direct encounter with it that a human being can have. Perhaps what this all points towards is not a personality type, not an introvert versus an extrovert, not a productive member of society versus someone hiding from their life. Perhaps what it points towards is a question: how much of the life you are living is yours? How much of the motion, the meetings, the social engagements, the constant orientation toward what is next belongs to you? And how much was simply the path of least resistance through a world that rewards the appearance of busyness? The people who find comfort in rainy days and quiet rooms are not, as the culture sometimes implies, people who are failing to engage with life. They are people who have discovered, either by instinct or by exhaustion or by some quiet revelation no one else witnessed, that engagement with the self is not a lesser form of engagement. It is the foundation of all others. The next time it rains and you feel that particular unlocking in your chest, the permission, the quiet, the sense of being held by something larger than the day, notice what it is telling you, not about the weather, about yourself. If there is a specific space or a specific kind of day where you feel most like yourself, I would be curious to know what it looks like.